Hello friends! I've been meaning to do this for a while, but this is a start to an easy intro to home winemaking using wine kits. There's a lot of misconception about it being difficult to make wine at home, and I'm here to show you just how simple it really is. The first step is to get your equipment together and sanitize it. There are a lot of different sanitizers you can use, and most brew supply stores will carry a wide variety. Don't be overwhelmed by the choices, the staff is always there to help. I've been brewing for a few years now and use Starsan. Starsan is a fast, effective, and easy-to-use acid-based brewing sanitizer. It's not a danger to you or your skin, but watch out for getting it on your clothes because I've ruined a few t-shirts that way. Day 1, you'll only need your brewing bucket and lid, a stir stick, an airlock, and a hydrometer. The hydrometer is optional and only if you want to track your gravity, which will help you calculate the alcohol content of your wine. I'm starting a new kit today, and I'm a fan of the Wine Expert brand that my local brew store carries. There are different brands you can use and different levels of quality that each brand offers. This is part of the Island Mist collection and is a cucumber melon Sauvignon Blanc that I'm eager to get bottled before summer. The kit has everything in it you'll need outside of your hardware. It has a reserve pack, the chemicals, the yeast, and the big old juice concentrate bag that always reminds me of a big old juice waterbed. So first off, we're going to have to go through our ingredient pack here and pick out the bentonite. Bentonite is a clay compound that acts as a wine clarifier, binding to the proteins to remove them from your final product and help clear out any haze. Almost all of the small kit wines will include bentonite, and it's really valuable for making sure your final product looks good. So be sure to sanitize all of the tools that you're going to need, including your scissors, which I handily happened to forget while I was putting this video together until the last moment. Anything that has some interaction with the materials, you're going to want to go ahead and sanitize. So go ahead, dump the bentonite into your empty brew bucket. It's really pretty easy. There's really no trick to it. You just want to make sure that you get it in there, get it saturated. Some people will pre-mix it beforehand, but it's honestly not necessary. So just go ahead, sprinkle it into your wine kit, and then you'll double check your ingredients. Mine calls for 2 cups of hot water to go ahead. So just give it a good mixing once you pour it all in. You can try to break it up with the pour, but a lot of the time that's usually going to cause clumps. Bentonite's called kitty litter, kind of for a good reason because it looks like it. So give it a good mixing. Instructions say to let it all dissolve, but I've never achieved that. It might look unappetizing, but the mud that you get is exactly what you need. Once you're satisfied you're done your mud mixing, it's time to add your juice. Since the box kit remains pretty stationary during shipping and display, the juice concentrate can form some sediment in the lower corners. You might see it looks a little bit muddy, perhaps a little bit sticky. So very easy, just give the concentrate bag a good swishing around to break it up and get it back into the mix. That'll kind of blend that concentrate back into the juice that you're going to be adding to your final product. You can go ahead, just kind of mess around with it. It has a cap that you can use to get the juice out, but I've never had a lot of luck for it. So I just use the scissors. It's a lot easier for me. Go ahead, make sure you sanitize it, snip the corner off while supporting your juice bag, and you're ready to start pouring. This is Charlie. Charlie knows he's not supposed to help me make wine. That's exactly why he's up there, trying to help me make wine. You generally want to keep your pets clear while you make your juice base, since any kind of contamination can affect the final product. When you're pouring in your concentrate, don't be afraid to get a good strong pour going and add in a bunch of bubbles as you're doing it. Aeration is good. It mixes up your water, it revitalizes your juice. Of course, I like to do a few bag wiggles just to make sure I get everything out of there. It's really not important to get every last bit, but I mean, this is the flavor of your wine, so use as much as you possibly can. As you can see, everything's looking pretty good in there. We've got our base grape juice that's been made from the wine must. Got the grapes. So now it is time to add the water. We're going to want to bring this up to the 6-gallon line, which is what the recipe calls for. Generally, these 5-gallon kits do go up to 6 gallons. You're going to leave a lot of sediment in the bucket, but that's what we'll go over during racking over and bottling. So let's begin. Once you have your water in, time for a good stir. You want to really mix your concentrate and water up as well as whisk up any of the bentonite at the bottom. The juice and water naturally want to separate, and this is especially important if you want to take a gravity reading. It's an optional step and I don't usually do it, but for the purpose of the video, I want it to be thorough. I have a secondary container that I've been keeping my other tools in. So here's my hydrometer after fishing it out. It's honestly a really great tool. It helps you kind of determine what the alcohol content of your wine is based upon the measurements between your starting specific gravity and your ending specific gravity. So give it a little spin as you drop it in and away you go. Once it stabilizes, stops doing its bobbing, go ahead and get the reading and consult your chart for any temperature additions or subtractions, since that can affect the reading. Hydrometers will usually come with a nice chart that you can consult that will tell you how many numbers, how many additions or subtractions you need to make based upon the temperature of the juice concentrate that you've been making. So that can make a little bit of a difference if you're interested in tracking that. The hydrometer can also help you track when your wine is stabilized and when it's ready to move on to secondary and even tertiary steps. And now you're ready to pitch your yeast. In the case of this recipe, we have an EC118. It's a sturdy yeast ideally suited for fermenting champagne wines, or even just champagne. Because of its ability to ferment equally well over a wide temperature range, it's one of the most widely used yeasts in the world. You can use it for a variety of wines, including sparkling, late harvest wines, and cider. Each kit will come with yeast that best suit the end result, but if you want to get froggy and play with recipes, there are a ton of options out there. Adding your yeast to your wine is a very simple process. Sometimes you might be instructed to hydrate it with water to kind of let it sit in a warm temperature area for a while to bring it a little bit back to life. You always want to check your recipes, and if you're a home brewer, sometimes beer and wine can be completely different in how they approach pitching the yeast. The instructions in this recipe are just to sprinkle it over the surface of the wine. As you can tell, there's plenty of yeast available in there. Now, you don't want to stir it unless otherwise instructed. The yeast knows exactly what it's doing. So you can kind of just let it sit. The yeast is hungry. It knows what it needs to do in order to get things done. So, not to worry. And with all the extremely hard, difficult steps already finished with this, now comes the easy part. We just seal the yeast up to give it a nice, happy, safe environment where it's going to be free from contamination to eat and make alcohol. Seal up your bucket nice and tight so you know all of your edges are crimped down till you hear the pop. It's going to be an important part because if it's an active fermentation, which some yeasts can cause, you want to make sure that that lid's not going anywhere. Trust me, when it pops, it will startle you. Of course, not to say that it will pop. I've only had that happen to me once, and it was a very active fermentation with some plums that I had. So you want to make sure you have enough liquid in your airlock to the body to create a nice seal as well. This will let the gas caused by fermentation escape while still keeping your wine isolated. Once you just seal the top on, you're all set to go ahead and put it in the fermentation area. And that covers day one. At this point, check your instructions for any special temperature range and put your fermentation bucket somewhere undisturbed because we won't be touching it again for 2 weeks. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in 2 weeks when we cover carboys and racking over. Bye for now!